2 and we'll get started. Great. So welcome again, everyone, to the second day of 5 days course. Yesterday we discussed about how to install Python, right? And we spoke about data types, and we did a few programs as well to demonstrate the usage of data types and different operations that can be performed on them, right? So let's take an example. So let's say I want to find um, area and perimeter of a rectangle, right? So I need something called as length variable, and I say 45. So the moment I say 45, the length has become a variable of type integer, right? So it is of type integer. Then I can have breadth, and let's say I put 50. This is also integer, right? Okay. And to find area, we know from our maths class that area is length into breadth, right? And perimeter is 2 times length plus breadth, right? So this is how we calculate perimeter, right? So now I want to print it on the screen. So I'm going to use what is called as f string in print, where I can combine all the variables along with the output as well. So I say print, and to mark f string we say f and you put quotation, and here I'm going to say the area and the perimeter of a rectangle with length, I'll say length, and breadth, and I'll display the value of breadth. Okay. So area of perimeter, the area and the rectangle, area and the perimeter of a rectangle with length and breadth are area value and perimeter, okay, respectively. Okay, so let's run this and see what we get as output. I'm going to say run here, right? So when I run, so we say the area and the perimeter of rectangle with length 45 and breadth 50 are 2250 and 190 respectively, right? This is the way, or this is what we got as output. Okay, so I have used what we call as here f string. Okay, in f string you can give you can pass the variable along with the text. Okay, and how do we do that? We put the variable, okay, which we want, okay, which we want the output to be displayed as, okay, as a variable in curly braces. Okay, so I say the area and the perimeter of a rectangle with length, and this variable will be replaced with the value of the length, which is 45, and breadth, and this breadth will be replaced with the value of just 50, and of course area with the area that we calculated, perimeter with perimeter that we calculated. Okay, great. Now let's say I want to check before length or breadth is valid or not, right? Okay, so what we have seen till now, what the program that we did yesterday and what we are doing today is that we are doing the execution of the program sequentially, right? We did uh, line 1, then line 2, line 3, okay, and so on, right? So we did it in a sequential manner. But let's say if somebody enters breadth as 0, right? Then it's not really a rectangle, isn't it? Or enters, say, breadth as -1. It's not really a rectangle, isn't it? So today we are going to learn how to perform check. So before we actually perform, let's say, area and perimeter calculation in this example, in this particular example, we want to see if the length is valid or not. Okay, so let's see how we do this. So we write if. Okay, so every command in Python is small case. Okay, that's first thing. And I told you that every line has to begin from very first position, right? If we I'm sorry, if we give a space here, it is going to throw error. Okay, we cannot and we should not give space, isn't it? Okay, fine. So let's say we come here, okay, and we say that I want to check if the value of, okay, um, length for that matter. Okay, let's check with let's start with length first. So I'm going to say length, if length, okay, and we saw double equal to is to check the condition. Okay, I want to check if length is 0 or not, right? Or okay, so let's first check length with 0. So I say length equal to 0. Okay, and I hit colon. Okay, so this is the syntax. Okay, syntax in programming language is like the grammar of natural languages. When say grammar, this is exactly what syntax means. Syntax means the way we write, the way we tell the command to computer, that has a rule. Okay, and Python has its own rule. Java, C++, any programming languages for them, SQL, they have their own rule. Okay, so if you say length, okay, so if you say if a condition there, so length equal to 0. So length equal to 0 is a condition, and if that condition is true, only then we will be able to continue. Okay, if that condition is false, then it's not going to perform what we do in the if. Okay, so if will only execute, okay, only when this condition becomes true. So here I say length equal to 45, and I'm checking, see, this is double equal to length double equal to 0. Definitely length is not double equal to 0. So whatever I write in if will not be checked or calculated. So okay, so let's see here. I'm going to say print, okay, print the length cannot be 0. We cannot proceed further. Okay, so okay, so one more thing you see here, I have given a space here. Okay, now I have given a space here because this print statement I want to print only if this condition, if condition is true. If this condition is true, then print this, otherwise don't print this. So this statement, okay, and of course you can have multiple statements. This statement has to be inside if. So to indicate it is inside if, okay, now if I don't give any space, if I bring it till here, okay, it is going to throw error because it will treat print as part of the main program, and it will say the print does not have any statement to execute. So to indicate that print belongs to if, I have to give a space, at least a space. Generally we give a tab space, but at least a space we have to give. Okay, other languages, the indentation, we call it as indentation, the space that we give before we write the first character, that is not compulsory. Most of the language it's not compulsory, but here in Python it is made compulsory. You have to give at least one space. Okay, we give one tab for the equation, for the space to look good, but at least one space you have to give. Okay, so now when I run this, absolutely no change, right? You get same answer. But let's say if I make this as 0, now when I run it, it says length cannot be 0, we cannot proceed further. But again, we actually proceeded further, isn't it? We calculated and we said length is 0 and breadth is, 50 plus 0 into 2 should be 100, isn't it? Okay, 0 and 100, right? So if we do not want to proceed any further, we use something called as exit. Okay, and you can give a code, maybe 102 code. You can define a code value. So exit will abruptly end the program. Wherever this exit comes, the program will end it here. So when I go and run it again, it says length cannot be 0. cannot be 0, we cannot proceed further, and the program ended. We got exit code 102. Right? Now again, see, if I make it -1, our condition, if condition is going to fail, isn't it? Because we are checking only for 0. Okay, and you get perimeter rectangular length -1, breadth -50, which is really not right way to do things. So what we can do is, instead of saying length equal to 0, we can say length less than equal to 0. Okay, less than equal to 0 means with the value 0 and less than 0, you stop there. Okay, so here when I run this application, our length, okay, is 0, or instead we can say the length cannot be 0 or less than 0, right? And then our program will end. So this is the use of if, where you're checking for a specific condition. Okay, and you want to execute few things which is very specific only if that condition is true. Okay, now next what you can do is, instead of putting exit is one way, right? But let's say I don't want to put exit. Okay, so this is like of when you look at this logic here, it is like either this or this, right? Either this or this. If this is true, then perform this, don't perform this, right? Or if this is true, that means if this is wrong, if this is false, then perform this, right? In such cases where you have either or kind of situation where either this or this, we can use else. So else goes with if. Okay, if the condition is true, it goes inside if, and if the condition is false, then it looks for next block within if. So here you have else. Okay, and else is the last condition, default condition. If the if doesn't meet the criteria, you get into else, and I want to put everything inside else. Okay, to put everything inside else, what I'll do is I will hit a tab space. Okay, and I'll move everything inside the cell. Okay, now I don't have to give exit when I run it. Okay, so you see length cannot be 0, hence this is executed and this is not executed. Okay, if this is true, this will not be executed, and if this is false, only then it will go and check for else, and less else thing will be executed, right? Now let's see, you have breadth as well, isn't it? Okay, so what we can do is we can move this breadth here. Okay, and we learned yesterday the Boolean operation AND, right? AND will either give us true or false. So see, for if, it only matters if it is true or false. It doesn't matter any other thing. It only look for condition, and condition has to be either true or false. So here I can say if length is less than equal to 0, and I can say OR. And we saw yesterday, OR means even if one condition is false, entire condition will be false. So I can say breadth less than equal to 0. The moment I say breadth less than equal to 0, okay, so it will check for both, right? And if both are true, if both are -1, of course it will fail. If either of them is -1, even then it will fail. -1 or 0 or anything less than 0, it will fail. I can say the length, okay, and or, right? Because we are not sure if both of them are 0 or less than 0 or one of them. So I can say length and or breadth cannot be 0 or less than 0, cannot be 0 or less than 0, we cannot proceed further, right? So now when we run it, of course we're getting this and we are not able to move ahead. Okay, so let me correct it. Okay, and let's give only length invalid. Even then we get this, right? Now if I make length valid here, okay, everything is working fine, right? Everything is working as per our plan. Okay, okay, now let's say you want to catch them separately. Okay, you want to perform something if length is not valid, and you want to do something else when breadth is invalid. Okay, so in this case we are going to create three conditions, three separate conditions. Now here if you look at these two together formed one condition only, right? This is returning either true or false, this is returning either true or false, but you have or in between, so together it is just one condition. But I want to treat length condition separately and breadth separately. Okay, so whenever you have more than two conditions to look at, see, if you have only one condition to look at, if is enough, you don't have to do else part, right? We did that before. But when you have two conditions to look for, then you put if and else. Okay, now if you have more than two conditions, like in this case I want to have three conditions: breadth, length, and then when both are fine. So what I'll do is, okay, I'm going to introduce what is called as else if. Okay, it's short form for else if. So if this condition, so okay, let's write this first and then I'm going to talk about this. So I'm going to remove or here and I say elif breadth. Okay, now we will copy and paste this here. Okay, and I'll say breadth cannot be 0 or less than 0. Here I'll say length cannot be or less than 0. Okay, so now here when we run it, of course, so see what happens. First condition is length. First condition is length. So it checks for length. Length is 10. 10 is less than 0. No, 10 is not less than 0. It's false. If it is false, only then it will go and check the next condition. Okay, next condition, breadth. Breadth is 10. 10 is not less than 0, right? This is also false. Then it goes to the third condition, right? So we have third condition here called else, and here in else you have area equal to length into breadth, formula, and print statement. We got it here. Now let's say I make breadth as minus 10. Then let's see what happens. It checks here. Length is less than 0. No, 10 is not less than 0, isn't it? So this part becomes false. It comes here. Breadth less than 0. Yes, breadth is less than 0. So it's going to print this part. Okay, and then okay, when you have a if block, if, elif, else, right? Only one condition of the 1 or 2 or 3 or 10 or 100 condition that you put, only one of them will execute, right? So if this executed, it is not going to come to the else part. Let's run this and see. Okay, so we got it. Okay, now if I make this as minus 10, both as minus 10, even though both are invalid, it will only check for this condition. Okay, because this is what we're checking first, and once this is false, it will print sorry, when this is true, if it is false, it'll go here, right? But in this case it is true. So when this is true, it is going to print this part, and that's it. Okay, it's not going to check for breadth, so you won't get breadth if length itself is wrong. Okay, you can have different ways. You can have a tracker to track, okay, how many of values are negative, how many are positive, if you really want to do. If your business requirement is to print either or both, then you can have a different mechanism to do that. Okay, you can have a tracker which will track, which all things are invalid. Okay, but in normal circumstances, even if one condition is false, it's better not to proceed further, right? So this is how if, elif, else is going to work, and this way we call it as conditional because it checks the condition and it doesn't allow us to move sequentially, right? So when we have if, elif, else, okay, only one of the block will be executed. Okay, there cannot be any situation where none is executed because else does not have a condition. So if everything fails over here, it will definitely get into else. Okay, and if first one is true, it will not go to the rest of this. So it will execute exactly one. Okay, not less than one, not more than one condition in a given set of if else block. I can have one more if else block, right? I can have one more if else block. Okay, for example, if length greater than equal to 100, okay, I can say print, wow, that's uh that's uh that's a big failed, you have, something like that. So now here in this case, this is one separate block and this is another separate block. Okay. And how do you identify if they're separate or not? Look at the word key here, if. Okay. If is the beginning of the condition and else is the end of condition. Okay. And in between you have elif. So here, okay, when you see here, okay, this is beginning of if, good. But here you see elif. Oh, elif, that means it is part of this if. Again, let's say you see another elif. Oh, this means it's part of this main if only. Else, oh, so this should be the last part of the big if or the main if. So else indicates end of the if and if indicates beginning of the if, right? So let's do one more program before we wrap up for the day. Let's say I want to calculate marks and average of student. So I can say simply marks 1 equal to 50, marks 2 equal to 40, marks 3 equal to 60, marks 4 equal to 90, and marks 5 equal to, let's say, 99. Okay. Uh, I mean, it's not wrong not to give space, but it looks good when you give space, right? It looks better to the eye. Okay. So now to calculate the sum, I'll say total equal to marks 1 plus marks 2. Oh, I should say plus. Why did I say equal? Okay, marks 1 plus marks 2 plus marks 3 plus marks 4 plus marks 5. Okay, so this is a total and average would be total by 5, isn't it? And I can do the print. You have scored a total marks of, okay, so I can do it without f string also. Okay, so I'll put this one. So I've scored total marks of total, right? And at an average of AVG. Okay, so this is text. So this will be printed as it is. Then I have put total outside the quotation, right? So this will be replaced with its value. But see here, when I'm using text and value together, they have to be separated with comma. Okay, so I said comma, that's why here. So text, comma, variable which will be replaced with its value at an average of text, and AVG which will be replaced with its value. Okay, so when I run this, you have scored total of 339 and an average of 67.8. Great. Now let's put some if condition. I want to assign grade A if average is greater than, let's say, 85. Okay, and I want to say grade B when AVG is greater than 70, let's say. Grade C, okay, where did it go here? Okay, how to assign grade C if average is greater than 50, and grade, let's say, oops, something is happening to my computer. Okay, grade D when AVG is greater than 40. So when I say greater than 70, it means greater than 70 and less than 85, isn't it? So 40 and grade E when AVG is less than 40. Okay, so let's run it to see if this has not created any problem to our program. Great, our program is fine. Okay, so let's start building if clause. So the first condition is if AVG is greater than equal to 85. If AVG is greater than equal to 85, I say print, okay, you code grade, and let me copy this print because I'll be pasting the same stuff to save time. Control C and I say grade. Okay, so this is condition. Now 70, right? If the average is less than 85, okay, only then it will go to the next part. If average is 85 or 85.01 or 86, 99 or 100 or 101 in this case, we are not checking for more than 100, but we could check, if the value is, more than certain thing, because marks has to be between 0 and 100, right? So I'm not putting it, but you can add that condition from your side. So if AVG greater than 85, print you got grade A. L if, right? Second condition has to be L if AVG greater than equal to 70, I'm going to say you got grade B, right? And when I say third condition, I have to start from beginning. If AVG greater than equal to, that's 50, isn't it? So colon, you have to end the condition with colon, okay? Colon, and I'm going to say print C. Okay, this is done. Now then I go back and I say elif. Okay, so 50, yeah, we have 40 as well, right? We have two more conditions because last condition will be else. So equal to 40, we say grade D. Inside the quotation, grade D, and here, okay, and finally else, right? We don't have to do elif because if everything is above, things are not met, then directly we get into this, and I'm going to say you got grade E. Okay, I can write one more line here. Print congratulations, where is party? Okay. Now, when you're adding the second line, okay, it has to begin from the same place where the first line has begun. So in that particular block, okay, tomorrow we'll talk about loops. Okay, in loops also we have to give indentation. So first line you have a choice. You can either give it from the, you can give one space or two blank space or 10 blank spaces, up to you. But the number of spaces that you give in the first statement, same number of spaces you have to give in this other statement belonging to the same if block. If I give, let's say, this space, okay, I have to give same number of spaces for second line of the same block, okay, and this, okay, so this may not follow this, okay, this doesn't have to follow because this belongs to elif, not to this if. So everything in if should begin from same space. You have to give same number of indentation spaces. Now let's run this and see. Marks is 67.8. Yes, so it falls under C category. If I say, if I go back here and let's say I make it as 90, and when I run it, okay, 75.5, which is, okay, grade B, isn't it? So you got grade B. So this is how we perform, we use if criteria in Python. Okay, so if is always followed with a condition, and if that condition is true, only then it will get inside the if, and you have to use indentation, okay, to put the statements. Okay, see, for demonstration purpose I have just 2 lines, okay, but in real program you can have 5, 10, 20, 30 lines of code. All the code has to follow the indentation and has to be inside if. Okay, and if you have to check 2 conditions, so you have if and else, which is default. If else is true, then else will not be called. If else is false, condition is false in the if, that's when the else will be called. So if this condition is false, then it will go and check for the next condition. So if you have 2, it will be if else. If you have 3, then the third one, okay, the middle one has to be elif. Now in this case we have, okay, 5 conditions, right? A, B, C, D, E. So A is first, so we have if. E is the default one, last one, so we have else. And for B, C, D, we have used elif. So you have, it has 3 elifs and 1 if and 1 else. Okay, so this is how we perform conditions in Python. Okay, so let's say I don't want to give a fixed value. I want to give a value from the user, right? We discussed this. So we say input. Okay, input is to take the value from the user. Okay, so it will not take the fixed value. Let's say I'll try only for marks 1, and you can change it for other variables as well. So when I say input, okay, by default, Python will read the input as a string value. Okay, so when you are planning to read a string, it's fine. Okay, you don't have to do anything else new because input will give us a string. But in this case, I want to read a integer value, so I need to convert this string into integer, and that's what we saw yesterday. That we have different functions. Integer will convert into integer. If you want to convert into string, you have to say str of. Okay, here I want to convert the default string into the integer value. So when I go and run, since marks when I said input, it is waiting for me to enter. Okay, now, okay, I said input, so it's waiting for me to enter value. So because I have written the program, so I know what I need to do. So I can go and I can say 5 or 50 for that matter, and other values will be given. It gave me grade and average. Now let's say when you have to read multiple values and you may not know what values to what this input is for, so we can give a hint text inside input, like a text. Enter the marks for mathematics. Okay, mathematics. In this case, when I go and when I run, so now I know. Okay, enter the marks of math. Oh, I need to enter mathematics marks. I'll say 90. So yeah, 90 is the total marks of 379, average of 75.8, which make you fall in grade B. Right? So this is how we read our input value from the user, dynamic reading. Okay, values are no longer fixed. Whatever we give, that value will be assigned to mark. Next time when I run it, again I have a choice to enter my own set of marks. Okay, so this is what I had planned for today. Hope you liked it.